Welcome back to my first ever Pokemon TCG Disaster class. In today's video, I decided to go full Raging Bolt mode, and I'm going to play really terrible the whole video and show you guys what not to do. And it was definitely intentional. So getting right into it, we're playing Christian Labella's Raging Bolt regional champion list from the Milwaukee Regionals. We got the Judge in there. Pretty interesting call out. I actually really like that Judge. I think it's pretty good to go with like an aggressive one prize board attack with like the Fan Rotom. You got like one Ogerpon on the bench. You play a Judge, you take one prize, you kind of force your opponent to have a boss, right? So I like the Judge. Otherwise, the list is pretty standard. And we're going to get right into round one here where we're up against a Gardevoir player. And this game is a little awkward. I had a Hoot Hoot in my opening hand, but I decided to opt to open Slitherwing. I didn't recognize my opponent, hadn't played against him before, and I figured it was more likely he was playing some kind of aggressive deck that might like turn one knock out my Hoot Hoot. So instead, I started the Slitherwing, but against Gardevoir, you definitely don't want the Slitherwing. So it's a little awkward. I want to maneuver my way into a Raging Bolt here, the one prize Raging Bolt, because against all these evolution decks, right, Dragapult, Gardevoir, I imagine the best course of action is to be, sniping the Curlius, sniping the Dracloak with the one prize Raging Bolt, but my hand's a little awkward. I can't quite get everything I need. I could get the one prize Bolt, but then I couldn't get the Ogerpon. And so what I ultimately decide here is that I'm going to settle for Fan Rotom being my early game aggression. And I get the Lightning Energy on there. That's going to be the beginning of a mistake. We'll get to it, but I prize the Lightning Energy. There's a Lightning Energy on that Fan Rotom, and so we're getting into trouble with our Lightning Energies here, and we're going to need those in order to use Bellowing Thunder. But otherwise, pretty solid turn one from me. I got a pretty developed board going. Got Noctowl in hand, so that's going to get me like, I don't know, Stadium plus whatever on turn two. Probably like Jamming Tower Judge or like Area Zero Judge sounds pretty good on turn two. But my opponent here going to get down a couple of Pokemon here. He's going to go into the Bidoof and hit me with that Itchy Pollen for 10. Now here, like I mentioned, I would much rather have a Baby Bolt here. I could go in with the... I should really know this attack name because I used it, but I have no idea. But I would love to snipe a Ralts instead of this Bidoof, and here I make like actually such a terrible mistake. I put my second Lightning Energy onto Latias. The idea was that I just wanted like more energies in play for an eventual Raging Bolt attack, but I didn't prize check, and now it's actually so bad because I have both my Lightning Energies in play. My last one's prized, and to make it even worse, all these Pokemon actually have free retreat. Oh, and then also to make it even worse, I decided to try and attack with Fan Rotom, but there's no Stadium card in play. And I literally had a Noctowl in hand, and my opponent goes like, oh, like, what's going on? And I definitely could have just asked him to take it back, and he would have let me. But I was like, okay, like, this is, like, criminally bad. I deserve to face some punishment here. So I'm just like, okay, I pass. And we're going to give my Gardevoir opponent a lot of time to set up. I think he top decked this Secret Box. Because on turn one, he didn't play a supporter. So I imagine he would have Secret Boxed for it. So at this moment, I'm feeling like so down bad. I feel like I'm getting almost karmically punished for just making so many terrible mistakes. But given the title of the video, I'm sure you guys know we're going to find a way to make this one work. Regardless, that's the power of Raging Bolt. We've absolutely fumbled this the second turn. The first turn was like fine. The second turn, atrocious. And we're going to have to find a way to make this work. Now my opponent's going to get the Artisan down. I think he opted for Research there. I wasn't particularly paying attention. I was too busy being angry at myself for playing poorly. But we could even see like a Rare Candy Gardevoir come out this turn. That would be like a complete disaster. But as far as trying to actually win this game and not just moping about playing bad, at this point, this is where I am in the game, right? My energies are trapped, and I have to figure out a path to victory. I would love to have been more aggressive, but I wasn't, so here we are. And my strategy has to revolve around either hitting a Lightning Energy off the prizes, or at some point getting one of these Lightning Energies freed up, probably relying on my opponent to make some kind of a mistake, or entice him in some manner into knocking out this Fan Rotom. Right, something I could imagine being a path to victory. Right here, I like Fan Rotom, kill something, and then he like, I mean, now he's got the Scream Tail, so he's probably going to attack my bench, but maybe he kills the Latias, right? Maybe he uses Scream Tail to kill Latias, I get the Lightning Energy, and I'm back in the game. Judge, also a fantastic option here, going to limit my opponent. I have to put down the Jamming Tower in order to knock out this Bidoof. At least I get to bump an Artisan, and I feel pretty good about that. I don't like using Jamming Tower for not a prize, right? Usually you want to put down the Jamming Tower to like knock out a Screamtail or a Drifloon and then take another attack in the same turn. But here I figured just like aggressively putting Jamming Tower into play, I need to take a prize somehow, like I said. And I'm kind of leaving this Fan Rotom in the active. Oh my gosh, what I really wanted my opponent to do here was just like miss Gardevoir EX and then attack with Monkey Dory and knock out the Fan Rotom. And I get my Lightning Energy back and then I can play the game. But we're going to see something a little different here. He finds Artisan off of that Judge. Pretty annoying. I think that probably is only Artisan. And so now he gets access to his tools. He could potentially put some big Screamtail damage in on the Latias. I think my opponent's best play here is probably actually, I mean, you can see Ultra Ball for Guardy. So he has Candy Guardy. I think his best play would be to either just like kill the Hoot Hoot or potentially like hit the Latias for 200. That sounds pretty good also. And then next turn he could like pick up the knockout with Monkey Dory, maybe like counter catcher up the Ogerpon and kind of go from there. But he's debating his options here. He's realizing he's a little short for the knockout on the Latias. I guess he also could have promoted like something else, generated some extra damage with the Gardevoir and then used the Monkey. But here, I think what we end up seeing is a Phantom Dive onto the Slitherwing, or not a Phantom Dive. Oh my goodness, I'm so used to playing so much Dragapult. It's a Roaring Scream, a little throwback for me. I used to love playing Screamtail, but seems I've forgotten my roots here. We're not Phantom Diving. There's a Screamtail. He's gonna put 30 onto the Hoot Hoot with Monkey Dory, and then 70 damage is gonna take out that Slitherwing. A little bit annoying, as without Lightning Energy, that is actually one of my better attacking options. My other potential attacking option is this Ogerpon. I'm like debating like, oh, do I ever like get like 5 or I think it has to be 6 energies on Ogerpon could kill Clefairy, or like maybe my opponent will attack with the Clefairy. I'm not entirely sure, but we get the Fez down here. We're going to Noctowl for the Area 0. That way we can get Raging Bolt in play. It's going to open us up for Sada. You're going to see these Fighting Energies come down. Surely there's a Lightning Energy, right? Just basically developing our board. Something else that we might have going for us is that if our opponent bumps this Area 0, we can discard one of our Pokemon with Lightning Energy, and then we can get the Raging Bolt attacks in. Then we're just going to take this KO with Phantom Dive. Oh my gosh. Okay, apparently everything's Phantom Dive. I mean, Phantom Rotom. Getting all confused here. But also, the problem with that is that our opponents use 2 Artisans, so this Area 0 is probably not going to get bumped. Maybe he'll kill our Teal Mask Ogerpon, and we can discard some Pokemon, but we're definitely stuck here. The one thing we have going for us is that our opponent probably doesn't realize how stuck we are. Yeah, he probably doesn't realize. So he counter catches up the Ogerpon, and now I get a little bit excited because I think he might actually just knock out this Ogerpon. It's going to free us up, but we are, even though our energies are about to be freed up, we're in a really rough spot as far as the prize trade goes because we weren't aggressive at the start of the game here, right? So my opponent's on 5, I'm on 4. So best case scenario, I'm winning in 2 attacks here, which I think is actually pretty reasonable given that our Ogerpon's about to go down here to maybe Screamtail, or I mean, if it goes down to Clefairy, great. But pretty much what we're looking to do here, we have a boss, we have a prime catcher, right? So boss and prime, we want to use one of them, brings up the Clefairy, the other one brings up the Guardy. There's our 4 prizes and 2 attacks. The problem is that if my opponent can generate enough damage with Monkey Dory, he can actually take 2 prizes this turn on the Ogerpon, and then 3 prizes on the next turn on the Fan Rotom and the Raging Bolt. So we're actually outright losing the prize trade here, even without hand disruption, which makes the situation not exactly ideal. You'll see how we get out of this in a sec here, but here my opponent's just going to use the Screamtail. I think maybe here the best move for him is I don't know, what is the best move? Like probably just like attack with Clefairy, take the knockout, and then generate extra damage on the Fan Rotom. Or no, it's a little awkward because like now that he's removing this Ogerpon from play, we actually get to ditch the Fan Rotom, ditch the Noctowl, so he can't really set up damage. So and now here we kind of get rid of that 3 prize opportunity for him, and now we just need to find back-to-back boss's orders. We also like want to bench Hoot Hoot, right? Because Noctowl is terrific at allowing us to find what we need. But the problem is if we bench the Hoot Hoot, our opponent could go triple Monkey Dory, kill the Hoot Hoot, and then there's that 3 prize turn again, right? So here, I'm just trying to make a good as good of a board as possible without benching Hoot Hoot. We get the Mew in play. Third Raging Bolt, I mean, why not? Mostly just to get it out of the deck. I think we're drawing to either Boss or Prime here. I had an Energy in my hand, but I didn't want to attach it because I could go like Retrieval for the Lightning and then Boss, because I had the Boss in hand. But we actually end up drawing into the Sadas, then we Sadas into the Prime Catcher, and so that's all well and good. However, I did want to use Boss's Orders on this turn. It's a little bit easier to use Prime Catcher and Sada, right? So I wanted to save the Prime Catcher for that final Iono, right? I'm probably going to get Iono to 2 here. And now because I've used the Prime Catcher, I have to draw into Boss, which is just a little harder, right? Because now I can't use draw supporters. Also, I won't be getting the extra energies from the Sada next turn. So I definitely would optimally have used the Boss's Orders this turn, but that's not the way the cards came out. Now we're going to go ahead and discard all the lightning energies here for the knockout. We're left with 5 energies in play. So this way, no matter which one of our Pokemon gets knocked out, we're going to need 1 lightning energy and Boss to win the game. I think also a small little sequencing mistake I made here was I think I Ultra Balled. I Ultra Balled away Palpad. But what I should have done is Ultra Balled away the Boss in my hand and then Palpatted it back into the deck so that when I get Iono'd here, it's actually like in proper circulation in my deck instead of being buried on the bottom. Because yeah, now I get Iono'd and my Boss is guaranteed to be in the bottom like 3 cards there. So I don't know. You can see my deck is getting kind of small. And in these scenarios, you really got to be thinking about how like shuffling effects and Iono and where are the cards you need, right? Are they in the bottom? Are they in the top? Are they split up? Right? Those are kind of the things I'm thinking about at this point. So here I get the energy retrieval. That's great. That gets us the lightning energy. And I guess a grass energy is going to draw us an extra card as well. We know it's not going to be the Boss. We're really looking for a shuffle. We don't have one. And at this point, my camera actually stopped recording. It's got a power save setting and it turned off right in the middle of the game-winning sequence. But I end up drawing my whole deck except for 1 card, and the Boss's Orders is actually the second last card in my deck. So if the Boss was on the bottom, I would have lost the game here, but I draw into the Boss, I boss up the Clefairy, and I take the game-winning knockout. So although I played really badly on turn 2, I was actually very proud of myself after this game for kind of maintaining my composure, still staying in the game, not just giving up, because I find it sometimes easy when you make a big mistake like that. It's a little embarrassing, and sometimes you just want to scoop up the cards. But here, I kept my composure, I played well, and we were actually able to win this game, and we start the locals 1-0. Before I get into our second match, I wanted to take a second to plug my sleeve sponsor, Endgame TCG. They got some good stuff, high quality sleeves, and good colors too. Of course, they've got black and white, which I'm using in this video, but they've also got a bunch of pastel colors, pink, lilac, yellow, and blue, and I really like kind of the pastel vibe. So if you're interested in those sleeves, check out the link in the description down below, and you can use code ROWAN for 10% off as well. Getting into our second round here, up against our good friend Noah. We carpool to league most weeks. Most times he comes with me, but today he decided he didn't want to win and just played this terrible Roaring Moon deck. I think Aiden Koos actually saw some success with this at Milwaukee, and I mean, of course, I think top 8'd Merida, if I'm not mistaken. It's the Neutralization Zone Roaring Moon deck, which I don't know. I just think it's kind of goofy, but I do imagine it has a good Raging Bolt matchup. Eventually, he can probably one-shot my Raging Bolts, and I'm not particularly good at doing much of anything versus Ancient Box deck, right? I'm just going to be taking 1 prize a turn. Ideally, I'd be taking a prize on my first turn of the game to really apply pressure. His deck's draw engine is not particularly good. I got the turn 1 Judge off, which I think is pretty nasty here. I would have loved to got off like the turn 1 Sada, of course. I think that'd be way better, but here we are, and at least we don't have a Squawkabilly EX on the board. My strategy here is going to revolve around attacking with Raging Bolt, attacking with Teal Mask Ogerpon, and then using 1 prizers. So my idea here is that as long as both of my 2 prize Pokemon are good for 2 prizes each, and I get the first attack in, then I should be able to close out the game with 1 prizers and win the prize trade. So we're just basically hoping here that Noah doesn't get up to 200 damage very, very quickly. We do have access to Bravery Charm. So my strategy going into this was use this Bolt, surely my Raging Bolt isn't going to get one shot. He needs some time to ramp up his damage, right? So this Bolt should be good for 2 prizes. Then it might go down. At that point, we're going to go in with the Teal Mask Ogerpon with a Bravery Charm, right? We're going to hope he can't do 260 damage. Hopefully that Teal Mask Ogerpon can also be good for 2 prizes, right? Not the Raging Bolts, the Roaring Moons are weak to grass, so they should be easy KOs. All these Pokemon pretty low HP, so I should be able to kill just about anything. And then from there, we can use maybe Slitherwing to kill some Roaring Moons. Maybe we might need the Jamming Tower for that. We could also use Fan Rotom to potentially take out Noah's Fan Rotom. So we have some options as far as the 1 prize attackers go. And I don't think Noah's deck plays any hand disruption, so we should be good to just kind of hold a massive hand here. And we do always have Judge, or I really should say we have Palpad to bring back our Judge as maybe a little backup plan in order to try and like emergency save our game if we start losing the prize trade. Maybe one of our 2 prizers gets 1 shot. Something else that is kind of interesting here, Noah's deck does play the 2 prize Roaring Moon, right? The Frenzied Gouging. So that could somehow come up, but I think if Noah ever comes in with the Frenzied Gouging, then I could just knock it out with like Fan Rotom or Slitherwing, and it wouldn't be really a big deal at all. Now here, we're finally going to see the first Roaring Moon attack of the game. I think Noah just took like a 5-minute turn. At the tournament, it definitely felt like forever. He was like, oh, Dunsparce, draw 3. But anyways, here we are. We got the Roaring Moon attack for some amount of damage there, 170. Pretty irrelevant number, just not enough to 1-shot me, and definitely enough to 2-shot me. We're going to get the Sada off, just draw some cards. Nothing we really need to do this turn. I outlined our strategy already, so just draw cards. We need to be able to find Bravery Charm at some point, so we've got the Noctowl in our hand to do that. We could be looking to like kill Dunsparces instead, but I mean, who cares really? We're just going to take out this Roaring Moon, put some pressure on the attackers, right? Force Noah to keep playing Professor Sadas as much as possible, right? He really would like to play some Explorer's Guidances, get some Ancient cards into the discard pile. We're going to see a bunch more runaway draws. Something that maybe I could have done is use that Noctowl to get a Stadium card, because he's going to get a lot of value from this Artisan, just bringing out a Dunsparce every turn. But I feel like I need to keep Jamming Tower so that I can kill Roaring Moon with Slitherwing, right? Slitherwing does 120 plus the burn, 140. And if Noah's got an Ancient Booster Capsule, not only does that block the burn, but it also gives him enough HP that he doesn't die. So I will actually need to have the Jamming Tower to take a KO on a Moon with a Capsule. But here, after Noah draws some cards, he's just going to go ahead and take the knockout there. I think that was a Vengeance Fletching for 200-ish or so. So, I mean, my plan is still the same, right? We're going to put a Bravery Charm on this Ogerpon. We're going to hope it doesn't get 1-shot. He could incorporate some Boss's Orders, some Counter Catchers. I'm kind of just hoping that doesn't really happen. This would be a great turn to Judge, but we did play our Judge already, and I couldn't quite get together, like, my Noctowl can't get Palpad and Judge, right? I have to get the Palpad, put the Judge back, and then I would have to Noctowl again. So I just don't quite have the draw power to do so. We're just going to go ahead and get this Ogerpon powered up. I think this was the correct approach. I could also see a world where in this matchup, you just actually never set up a Raging Bolt. Like you just go like Teal Mask Ogerpon as your only EX, use it at the start. It should definitely be good for 2 prizes, and then just like trade 1 prizers the whole game. I didn't really feel comfortable with that because as soon as the Teal Mask dies, you have no Terra, so your draw power is kind of mid, and then like the attackers aren't super sustainable. Like Slitherwing, cool. Raging Bolt 1 prizer, cool. Fan Rotom. Maybe I could have made it work with just a Teal Mask, but I ended up going for the double 2 prize approach, and then in the end game when he's doing like infinite damage, we can just get those 1 prizers involved. So I think here we were kind of talking it out. Noah realizes what's going on here. This is a very important turn of the game. If he takes this 1-hit KO, I pretty much just lose as long as he can take back-to-back KOs. I would just call it like taking the lead, or I don't know. I need to come up with like better terms for this stuff. But this is a very, very important turn. If he doesn't take the KO, then I'm really going to be in control of the game. And he's going to be the one who has to make some kind of comeback play with Iono and maybe Counter Catcher. But I don't think he really plays those cards. So this is a pretty all or nothing turn for Noah. And he doesn't have, I think, enough Ultra Balls, he was telling me. Like, he has a bunch of the Ancient cards in his hand, and he doesn't really have Ultra Ball. And so he can't Sadas. He might actually be out of Ultra Balls here. I wonder, like, if earlier in the game he like Ultra Balled away some cards that weren't ancients. Maybe could have made it work. I don't really know. I wasn't paying too much attention. Um, but anyways, the end result here is that he's unable to get this KO on the Teal Mask Ogerpon, and so instead of just like playing Sada and swinging into me, he decides to just like put down the neutralization zone, use the Explorer's Guidance. I think now that gets him up to enough Ancients that he can one-shot this Teal Mask Ogerpon next turn, but it kind of just doesn't matter because here, when it's onto my turn, as long as I have a way to take a KO here, so that's going to be either a Fighting Energy on the Slithering, or a Stadium Bump to just kill him with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, which he realizes here, so he's going to put that Ancient Booster Capsule on. Now that denies me the Fighting Energy here, so I have to draw into a Stadium Bump here to keep up my pace in the prize trade, which I do end up drawing into Area 0 here. That's going to let me take this KO, and now I've taken over the prize trade, so I can bench as many 2-prize Pokemon as I like. Oh wait, no, I can't do that. Yes, because if I bench another 2-prize Pokemon, Noah could just take back-to-back 2-prize KOs, and I would actually lose the game. So sorry, I cannot do that. I'm just getting the Fez in case, I guess in case this Teal Mask doesn't die, at which point then I could explode my board and bench as many things as I would like. So here we see the Super Rod put back a bunch of Dark Energies. We see some Vessels. That's going to get him up to 26 on the Ancient. And he's actually got one card in deck here, so any savvy Raging Bolt players out there might realize that if I just attack with Slitherwing here, with the first attack, it discards the top card of my opponent's deck, so I would actually just win my game. And there was like a few people watching, they all came up to me after and were like, hey, why didn't you Mountain Crunch? Yeah, sure, that sounds like a reasonable attack name for that, but I didn't see it. I didn't see that first attack just won me the game here. I was too focused on the fact that I just have the prize trade locked up here, right? We're both on 2 prizes. I don't have any 2-prize Pokemon in play this turn. I'm just going to draw some cards, put myself down to 1 prize, threaten to win the game next turn with the Raging Bolt onto the Fan Rotom, and then I'm going to go ahead and KO the active. At this point, I was thinking about playing around things like Iono, but it just doesn't exist, and I'm going to take down this game with, I think, what was like actually a pretty well-played game and a good strategy. So we're now 2-0 at the Kansan Games Friday Night League. In round 3 here, we have actually a very interesting game. Definitely not a standard game. My hand is pretty terrible, and so I just decided to vomit my hand onto the board and draw some cards. My opponent starts Latias, and so I'm debating, like, is this Grass Energy good on Mew EX? I could potentially top deck Crispin and then, like, use Mew EX, but I end up deciding this Grass Energy goes on Hoot Hoot because I have a Sada in my hand. And so the idea is I'm going to retreat my Hoot Hoot next turn. I'm going to Sada. I'm going to draw 3 cards. But it's terrible because that's going to be not a Lightning or a Fighting Energy, so I can't actually do an attack next turn if I play the Sada like that. So I'm pretty much committing that my turn 2, I'm not going to be attacking against a Latias opener. That's kind of scary, right? Like, say I'm playing against Raging Bolt, right? And my opponent just takes this turn to set up, and then I take the next turn to set up, and then he just kills my Mew. I'm down 2 prizes, and I just hate the game. I just can't win. But here, we get lucky. My opponent's actually playing Joltik Box, which I think is much more manageable, right? The Slitherwing is going to be incredible into the Pikachu. Generally speaking, I think this matchup is super free, so let's see how we navigate this one from a very weak start. I guess I'll say a bit of a weaker start. We got some Pokemon, we got some energies, we've drawn some cards. I make a mistake there. I had 2 cards in hand. One of them was Sada's, and I just didn't Mew. And then I Sawdust, and then I had 5 cards in my hand, and I couldn't use the Mew to draw any cards. So I could have drawn 1 more card there, but that's okay. Surely it was just another dead card, and the result would have been the same, right? No, it's not. The top card is an Ultra Ball. Anyways, my opponent here just going to take another turn to develop. Maybe he doesn't have the boss's orders. I think here, if he had a boss and a Metal Energy, which he definitely grabbed Metal Energy off the Crispin, but if he had that, he would probably just kill my Mew EX with Pikachu. Or maybe kill the Slitherwing with Pikachu. I don't know, he probably doesn't want to do that. But anyways, another Jolting Charge. Tons of energy on my opponent's board. But our Slitherwing is a great answer to these Pikachus. We can still trade 2/2/2 and win the prize trade. So we're in a decent spot. We top deck the Ultra Ball. That gets us the Teal Mask. We've got a Knock Towel. We've got the Prime Catcher. So we go ahead. We Prime Catcher. We Mew. We draw some cards. Good sequencing here. And now I end up not needing to play the Noctowl down from my hand because I hit the Crispin. I might Noctowl anyways. I'm not particularly sure. But actually, I did make a mistake. So I Ultra Balled away Night Stretcher, and I should have just Ultra Balled away the Noctowl, and then I could have kept the Night Stretcher, and then the Night Stretcher could have actually ended up getting me the Slitherwing back. So I don't know why I did that. Nice little lesson there. If you ever have a Pokemon and a Night Stretcher in your hand, just like always discard the Pokemon. You can bring it back later. The Night Stretcher is just more versatile, right? So here, my opponent's going to have to respond to the Slitherwing. Pretty awkward here. I don't really know what he's supposed to do. I think his, like, only line is, I don't know, like, kill my Slitherwing and kind of just hope that I don't have the proper response to continue playing the game. You know what? The Galvantula is actually a pretty good response because that's going to kind of throw off my prize trade here. But at this point, it's 5-4, right? So I figure I can actually just kill this Galvantula, go to 3, and then if we just keep trading back and forth, I'm still going to get down to 0 prizes before my opponent, right? As long as he can't, like, take 3 prizes in one turn or ever deny me from taking a knockout. I assume his deck plays, like, maybe 1 Iono, maybe 0, right? And so I'm like, okay, here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take out this Galvantula with the Ogre Pawn. I had it guaranteed. I could have got greedy and, like, tried to get, like, a boss here. But, like, it's just so hard. I play 1 boss. I didn't really think I already used my Prime Catcher. And anyways, here, I just developed my board. I'm already winning the prize trade, so no need to worry about all these liability Pokemon in play. I just need to take my prize cards first. And then we're going to go in here with the Ogre Pawn and knock him out. And at this point, I finally understand why Maractus was ever in these Joltik Box decks. Because, so I used my Prime Catcher to KO the Pikachu. And now because I've used my Prime Catcher, I don't have any way to switch. And so what my opponent can actually do is he can Maractus my Mew EX for 11 turns. No. He doesn't have to do that long. For like 10 turns? No. Oh, 5 turns. For 6 turns? Oh, no. Use Maractus to trap my Mew in the active for enough time to set up an Iron Hands, right? And then he can amp the Mew for 3 prizes. And then he'll go down to 2. And then because I'm on 3, I would actually lose the prize trade. And so if you're a Joltik Box enjoyer, you're worried about this Raging Bolt matchup, I think that is kind of the implication of this Maractus. But my opponent had the Maractus, maybe didn't quite see the line, just decides to kill my Pheasantipede. And at this point, my opponent can actually still do it, right? On the next turn, he can just do it in a different order. Instead of taking the 2 prize first, he could just now, go for the play now. So now I'm debating, do I kill the Maractus? My opponent didn't see the play last turn, so maybe he just will continue to not see the play, right? Like, what if I just knock out the Pikachu with Slitherwing here, hope that my opponent still doesn't see the Maractus plan, and then I'll have guaranteed game on the next turn. And so that's what I end up going for here. I could have bossed up the Maractus, but I also felt like if I boss up the Maractus and kill it, it kind of signals to my opponent that I'm like really afraid of the Maractus. And he didn't see it before, so I didn't want to tip him off. I just decided to go in here with the Slitherwing, and I'm basically just sitting here, crossing my fingers, hoping he doesn't see the Maractus line. Maybe he'll just go for, like, a Blood Moon KO on something, like Blood Moon KO my Slitherwing, and hope that I don't have a fighting energy to win the game, and so that's kind of what I'm hoping for here. He puts down the Blood Moon. That gives me a bit of confidence that that's what's going to happen here. I think he's trying to find a Iono here. Doesn't find it off the Pokegear. I imagine this is just the copied list from Merida with the Maractus. That would make some sense to me. He decides to play Boss here onto the Raging Bolt. I think this is with the idea of drawing an energy card, and then he can like attack with the Clefairy, but he doesn't draw an energy. And then at this point, I guess I killed the Maractus for fun, but I could have also just killed the Blood Moon with Slithering. So bit of an interesting game. Got unlucky, and then got a little lucky that my opponent didn't see that Maractus line. A little complicated. With like the lots of Maractusing into an eventual Iron Hands, but I think that's what that Maractus is for. In round 4 here, we run into another Gardevoir. He opens Badoo, but I know it's Gardevoir because, I mean, at this point, we're in round 4. I've seen him play a couple games. I think my opponent's game was actually the last one, went to time last round, and so I was watching it, and that's how I knew. And we have a good opener here. We're just going to go ahead and get the fan call off. Ditto goes into the Bolt, attach, and pass. Now, I didn't search a Noctowl off this Fan Rotom. I just searched for another Fan, which I think was a mistake. I don't have a Terra Pokemon in my hand. And so because I didn't have a Terra, I was like, why would I get a Noctowl? But the answer is because I could eventually top deck a Terra, and then I would want Noctowl. The good thing here, I have a Fighting Energy in my hand. So my plan here is to just attach Fighting Energy now, start killing Badoo, and next turn attach another energy, kill the Ralt, and go from there. So here, I think, yeah, now I top deck the Terra. I don't have the Noctowl. Otherwise, I could have killed the Ralts. And then my opponent top decks Pheasantipity into Rare Candy Gardevoir, and then I think he also has Secret Box somehow. So, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I could have had that turn 2 Raging Bolt, shoot the bench, kill the only Ralts, and this game probably would have been over before it even began. But because I just randomly get Fan Rotom off of my Fan Rotom instead of a Noctowl, I mean, I said why. I didn't have a Terra, but I should just get the Noctowl anyways, because then I put myself in a position to get lucky, top deck a Terra, and then I get to use Noctowl. But I miss a bit of an opportunity here, and my opponent's going to get a chance to capitalize here. He's going to get, oh my gosh, lots of stuff going on here. Research, a bunch of energies, Fez, the whole 9 yards. And at this point, we're not quite out of it, right? We still have some good resources available to us. Our deck is good at one-shotting Gardevoir EX, which a lot of decks aren't, right? This Gardevoir deck isn't really built to deal with, like, their Gardevoir dying, right? So say, I don't know, maybe my opponent just, like, attacks with Guardy here, or, like, Screamtail something. Maybe I just draw into, like, some sick combo play where I just one-shot the Gardevoir EX with, like, Noctowl for Prime Catcher, right? And then all of a sudden, I can definitely still win this game. We see another Ralts come down, so that Gardevoir KO won't necessarily be the end of the game, but it'll definitely be pretty strong still. And I think what my opponent ultimately decides to go for here is just Counter Catcher up my only Terra Pokemon, Bravery Charm on the Drifloon, and this seems pretty good too, and he's just going to take this one-hit KO, which is definitely not ideal, but my hand is actually, like, perfect to respond to this. So we have such a weird game here where both of our board states are terrible, but we just magically have, like, the best cards, because I have Jamming Tower here, a third energy, another Ogerpon, Fez, and Judge. So we're going to set my opponent down to 4 cards. I'm going to draw 7. And then this turn, I'm just going to settle for KOing like Screamtail or Ralts or something. I'm not sure entirely which. We're going to go down to 3 prizes, right? We couldn't play Sada here, so we couldn't take a 2 prize. Ideally, we would just, like, Jamming Tower, Sadas, kill the Fez, and then kill the Guardy. Like, okay, cool. Like, that's a pipe dream. So we're just going to settle for this. We're going to go to 3, and we're going to have to hope that our opponent can't take 2 prizes on his following 2 turns. So we're going to keep using this 1 prize Raging Bolt. It's a pretty big asset for us, not just giving my opponent a free 2 prizer to KO, right? If I were to use, like, Raging Bolt EX here, I mean, I would just die to a Clefairy. So don't want to do that. And now my opponent is in at least a little bit of an awkward spot. He needs to find Counter Catcher. Counter Catcher would bring up Pheasantipity. That could be a 2 prize KO with perhaps Gardevoir. He could also find, like, Stadium Bump plus Bravery Charm. He could also find, like, Double Monkey. No, he can't do that. So, I mean, I guess he really just had to find Counter Catcher here, or, like, Stadium Bump Charm. He already used a Counter Catcher. Maybe he already used a Stadium. I think he already used a Stadium. I don't particularly remember. But either way, he whiffs the 2 prize KO, and so now the ball is back in my court. I have the lead, I guess, in the prize trade. So here, I can take 1 prize this turn, and then next turn, I'll need, like, a big boss play, like boss, Fez, probably knock it out, win the game. So that's what I'm going to go for here. Now, I'm going to make my board go as wide as possible here. I think I end up Noctowling for area 0, and then I can get down, like, Fez, Mew, Raging Bolt, another Raging Bolt, Latias EX, right? That's really what I'm trying to do here. Oh, I guess I just had the area 0 in hand. That's pretty good. We see a Night Stretcher, bring back another Ogerpon. I'm just going to continue drawing cards, developing my board. But, oh, it looks like, okay, so I actually whiff on the Raging Bolt EX, which is annoying because now my opponent's going to probably, like, play an Iono, maybe knock something out. And I'm going to be forced to find Raging Bolt, Sada, Prime Catcher, which is, like, not easy. I mean, I do have Fez and Mew and Hoothoots and whatnot, so that's good. But I think my opponent's best play here is to, like, I don't know, not kill anything, right? Because if he just doesn't kill anything, he avoids activating the Pheasantipity, and then I draw less cards, and it's harder for me to find that game-winning play. So I think like what seems really good to me here, if he had it, I actually talked to him about this, and he didn't have it, but like Counter Catcher the Fez, trap it in the active, Screamtail the Mew EX for 160, don't take any knockouts, and then on the next turn, he can use Monkey Dory to kill the Mew, and then Screamtail to kill Hoot Hoot. But what we actually see here, we see the Iono, of course, and then I believe we just see a knockout onto a Hoot Hoot or Counter Catcher. Oh, okay, we see this. Yeah, Monkey Dory, Screamtail, kill the Mew. He's going to take 2 prizes, go down to 1, and now I'm in a spot. I've got Fez, maybe some Ogerpon activations, maybe a Noctowl, and I need some combination of Raging Bolt, Sadas or Crispin, and Prime Catcher. So I think I Fezzed into the winning combination here. Ultra Ball finds me the Noctowl, which finds me the Prime Catcher, the Sada. Yeah, here we go. Looks like I had one of the pieces in my hand, and then we're just going to go ahead and knock out that Gardevoir EX for the game. So bit of a wonky game. Again, I played poorly against Gardevoir EX, and again, I don't get punished, and I kind of bail out here. So 4-0, let's see how we close out this last game. All right, in our last game here, we run into another one of these pesky Badoo decks. This time, we're playing against Camille, one of our local seniors. He's pretty good, and he's going to be playing, I believe it's Slowpoke, a little bit different from my usual list. I know he's got a Turo in there. Maybe there was a Palpad. I can't quite remember, but it's essentially the Slowpoke Luminous deck. I played against 2 of these at Milwaukee. I was the Pult player, and I played against 2 Raging Bolts. And actually, sorry, I played against 3 Raging Bolts, and I went 1-1-1, which was not particularly good relative to the rest of my record. So let's see if I can replicate that Raging Bolt win as the Raging Bolt player this time. A little bit interesting from Camille. He ends up Turoing the Dreepy and then attaching Luminous to it. I think this is like probably unnecessary. I had a really good turn 1. I think I telegraphed that I had Noctowl in hand. Of course, I'm going for this Raging Bolt play, and so I think that Luminous energy on the Dreepy is just a little bit wasted. We're going to go ahead, take it out, and this is a pretty standard Raging Bolt opener. I do also throw down the Jamming Tower. If you're playing Raging Bolt against Dragapult, I think this is an incredible play. Camille is very likely to unfair stamp me, at which point I'm really unlikely to find Jamming Tower, right? So his best defensive option is usually unfair stamp, Luxurious Cape goes onto the Dragcloak, and then I can't kill it with the Raging Bolt, he gets a Dragapult, and then we end up in an interactive game. Whereas if I just throw down the Jamming Tower, I also force the Dragapult player to find an Artisan, which Dragapult decks tend to be playing 1 or 0 Artisans, and so this aggressive Jamming Tower is just going to be really strong. I think he even had the Luxurious Cape there, but it's just blocked by the Jamming Tower. We also get a bit lucky. Camille doesn't find a Counter Catcher, right? I'm sure he would have liked to Counter Catcher up our Noctowl, kind of trap it there. I don't have an energy. If I had an energy, I would also be like attaching to my Noctowl to prepare for like a potential Counter Catcher here, right? Because all my other Pokemon have free retreat, and as long as I can just keep using this 1 prize Bolt, snipe down my opponent's Dracloaks, I'm in a good spot. Camille here, looking for a Dragapult EX here, right? He wants to evolve, protect his energy. There's the Luxcape there, he can't use it, and so he's just gonna have to go for Itchy Pollen, and I'm just gonna snipe down another Dracloak. But this game is still not over, guys. Like, the thing to think about here is that my board is really underdeveloped, right? 1 Phantom Dive takes out the 1 prize Bolt and the Hoot Hoot, Iono's me to 1 or 2 cards, and it's very, very plausible that I just draw nothing and can't close out the game. So here, finally, we see the unfair stamp. We see, rescue board, I don't know. That's probably just going to go down somewhere random. Camille needs to draw into something here. Stadium Bump to get rid of the Jamming Tower. Dragapult EX he just needs to protect this Dracloak in some capacity here. Nest Ball gets the Fez. That's going to draw him some cards. Would have loved to see the Fez come down way earlier, but he had, I don't know, probably pretty suboptimal draws. Wasn't able to do that. Here's finally the Dragapult, but at this point, he has no Dracloaks, which makes this a little awkward for him, right? He can't really draw cards. And we're just going to see 1 more Itchy Pollen. He debates going in with Jet Headbutt, but I think I like just 1 more Itchy Pollen here. And then next turn, he can go in and kill Hoot Hoot. Now here I have Judge, and I do recognize that Camille has no draw power. If I am to knock out this Badoo with the Raging Bolt, I go down to 2 prizes, which is really good, but I do open up like Pheasantipede for Camille, and then my only Hoot Hoot probably dies. So I actually debated here just like shooting the Fez for like 90, and then like assuming Camille wouldn't have the combo play off 4 cards, and then on the next turn I could like kill the Fez, but I was like, okay, this is probably ridiculous. I'm just gonna kill it and hope to draw out of whatever combo play I'm subject to here, which looks like I'm subject to a pretty nasty one. Ogerpon gets snagged into the active, and then Halucha, and we're gonna see a 3 prize Phantom Dive here, and Niono 2/2. So here I also have no energies in my discard pile, so I don't even know if I had Sada. Sada doesn't really do anything for me here. And pretty quickly on in the turn, I decide I'm not going to be winning the game this turn. Oh, I do have Sadas. Okay. So I'm going to Sada, put the energy down onto the Bolt. Now I'm just looking to set up for a win on the next turn of the game. Now, the one thing I do have going for me here is Camille's on 3 prizes. He's used his Halucha, and so he can't get another 3 prize Phantom Dive here. And he used that Turo, remember, on like the first turn of the game. He probably could have just used the energy to retreat, but he used the Turo, and so he won't be Turoing the Halucha for another 3 prize Phantom Dive. Now, one thing I didn't think about in the moment that I definitely should have been afraid of is Camille can boss up the Fan Rotom here, use Itchy Pollen for 10. That puts a 1 prize in a 1 prizer in his active, right? So I can't win the game without a boss. And then after that, he could boss again onto like Mew EX. And then there's a 3 prize Phantom Dive onto the Mew EX and the Fan Rotom. So in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have put down that Mew EX. I don't know. It seemed like really good draw power to me at the time. But it does open the door for Camille to boss up that Fan, use Itchy Pollen, and set up for the game-winning play. I do also put 90 damage onto the Pheasantipede, so any energy would let me KO that for game with the 1 prize Raging Bolt, so that's also really nice for me. But we could see like Bravery Charm come down onto the Fez, that could protect it. Yep, there's a Bravery Charm in the deck there. We see Camille Arven for it, and he's a smart player. He actually is going to see this line where he Itchy Pollens the Fan Rotom for 10, and then looks to clean it up on the following turn. So we're going to see this line play out, which is pretty exciting actually. As a Pult player, I definitely am rooting for Camille a little bit as I'm watching this video, because I feel like he's making some good plays here from a bad position, and I just kind of oonga boonga'd my way here. But regardless, we're here. I don't have the game-winning combination. I think that would just be like boss lightning energy is what I would need. I think I have the boss, but I don't have lightning energy, so I can't actually win. A little bit awkward here. I end up just firing off boss's orders onto the Pheasantipede. And for some reason, I also like don't retreat my Fan Rotom here. My logic was like, oh, I don't want to retreat the Fan Rotom because if I do, it can get Phantom Dived for game. But if I just like retreat into the 1 prize Bolt, I still can't get Phantom Dive for game. So I think what I'm supposed to do here is just like boss up Halucha or Fez, probably Fez because it can't get the rescue board. It has the charm on it. Boss up the Fez, hit into it with the 1 prize Bolt for 130, and then look to win on the next turn. But we just go ahead, boss and pass, and Camille doesn't have what he needs here to retreat the Fez. He doesn't have an energy. He would need energy boss to win. And then because of that, I can just go ahead, Crispin, retreat, and close out the game with Raging Bolt. So lots of outs for Camille there. Just didn't quite have the cards he needed. And then I could have definitely played that a little bit better too at the end there. And we end up going 5-0 in this league. Probably my worst played league in like a long time. But we somehow get there anyways. And I think that just kind of speaks to the power of this Raging Bolt deck and why a good player like Christian Labella was able to win a regional, because he had an amazing deck and just played it well, knew what he was doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, maybe learned something, or enjoyed me making a bunch of misplays and getting upset at myself. But that's going to be it for this one, and I will see you guys in the next one.